All right, welcome everybody. We are here today with a free call for you about how different are you willing to be? It's based on the book Pragmatic Psychology, Practical Tools for Being Crazy Happy by Susanna Mittermeier. And
Do
we
I
have,
have to be different? How does that work?
well, if you don't want to be different, you shouldn't be on this call.
Ah,
Ron, you ever gone through life feeling like you were different and you didn't fit in?
I was always different.
No.
Yeah, yeah. Surprisingly, I was always different.
When did
I
you
was always,
first know that you were different?
lots of ways, honestly. I was loud and smart and fast talking and, sort of in everybody's business. And I grew up around um, family who just thought I was sort of a round peg in a square hole for a long period of time. And then, like, even when I went to elementary school, I got bused to the other side of town. So I never like really knew any of the people, that I was going to school with. And I was the only kid that did certain things. I was the only gifted kid for like the whole school. So that was sort of odd. I got bused to one school, and then once a week I got bused to a second school from there so I could attend the gifted classes. So, I got all kinds of stories about being an egghead.
Well, when was the point where you felt like, oh, well, fuck it, I'm just going to go ahead and be different because I'm tired of being judged for not being different?
Oh, I didn't really understand the implications of it until I got involved, in the access work, because I didn't understand how much of the judgments I had about me and how much of a people pleaser, I really wanted to be. So everywhere I was trying to be something for somebody else, I wasn't really being there for me.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, so we've got some people joining us via Facebook Live. How cool is that? And we just want to say thank you guys and welcome. If you are on the Facebook Live and you're watching this live, you just look at the comments below and you'll have the ability to click on the Zoom link, and that'll let you join us sort of live, right? Over on the Zoom line, which I'm sharing my screen. Ron looks like he's sharing his camera. So you get a little bit more interaction with us. If I see that you come on the Zoom line, I'm going to move you over to a panelist, and that will give you the ability to talk with us later if you so desire. And so with that, I think we're just going to go ahead and jump in and get started. Sounds like Ron, we can hear each other well. And let us know, you guys, can you see the screen? If you'll type something in the chat, and let us know that you can see the screen that I'm sharing. Perfect. Okay.
I see that you're live. I'm checking it now.
Yep. Looks like we're all good to go. And I'm recording. Like, how does it get any better than all that? So I do want to recognize that I'll give you the link at the end of this. I'd highly recommend the book, Pragmatic Psychology. It's a quick read. It's something you're going to want to have handy all the time. I've put in the chat for you, or underneath this video if you're watching it on Facebook, a link to grab the handout that we're going to be working through. But totally okay for you to just be looking at our screen right now and not worrying about the handout, but that's available for you there. And the last page of the handout does have a link to purchase the book on Amazon. I'd really appreciate the affiliate credit for that. It's probably 20 cents for the book or whatever, so I'm not getting rich off of it, but I do love being rewarded for sharing the stuff that is awesome. And so, all right, let's dive in. So let's talk about spending time in this world. Can seem almost impossible to have any other choice but to fit in and to be like everybody else. So I just want us to take a moment and sort of acknowledge how powerful and magical we actually are, that we do try to fit ourselves in. And where have we spent time fitting ourselves in? I know that I've tried to fit in with my birth family for a long time, right? Because family was like people have a lot of points of view that like family is it and family is all that we're meant for, living for, right? You know, in different relationships, I've tried to fit in and have like a partner relationship in a certain way because it was supposed to be. My first marriage was all about, you know, finding the good Christian husband, living the good Christian life, right? Your relationships with your kids are something that brings up a lot of form and structure with, you know, you're supposed to not be your kids' friends and you're supposed to parent and discipline in this certain way. And definitely as a bonus mom, I run into all kinds of situations where I get judged for being a different bonus mom, and for the pure fact that I call myself a bonus mom and not a stepmother. So where in your life, if you'll just type in the chat for me, or if you want to get yourself unmuted, happy to have that. Give me a shout out, or if you're on the Facebook, type it in the chat. Where do you find yourself fitting in? And let's just give you some acknowledgement for doing that. Like, you know, that's part of why you guys feel exhausted, is you're trying to fit in all these other places. Angela says she loves the bonus mom ownership. Trying to put myself out as a coach and terrified to do it my way. Cool. Yeah, because there's all these rules about how coaches are supposed to be professional and supposed to do it this certain way. Totally. So we got I try to fit in my town. Yep. And I never feel normal. These are all awesome things. Ron, where else do you try to find yourself fitting in?
I made a list of all the ways that I like show up in the world. It was part of my journaling process. So like, it was a funny list. Like, I am a son, right? And I am a father, and I am an uncle, and I am a friend, and I am a business partner, and I'm a client, right? And I'm, you know, I could go on, right? I'm a husband, right? I'm a soccer coach. I'm a lover, right? And what I didn't recognize in the first like 15 of those that I had shown up is that I am me, that I'm me, and that I show up, you know, just for me. And I found that to be really like super interesting, that I didn't recognize that about me until I had had some retrospect. And it made me realize how you always show up with an agenda about how you're supposed to be in regards to somebody else and in regards to some other circumstances.
Yep.
And so, the reason it stood out to me more is like, in you and I coming to get to know each other, one of the things I would tell you is like, I'm the same kind of person in most every kind of circumstance. I'm not like, you know, buttoned up over here and wild over here, and I'm not different with my parents than I am with, you know, my wife. You know, I'm the same kind of guy. I don't have lots of, you know, closets and drama and horseshit, you know. And so it's an easy thing to overlook because you figure, well, I'm the same with everybody. But when you really get down underneath it, like, and you think about the agendas that you have, right, about being, let's say, a father, right? So what does a good father do, and what does a bad father do, and who gets to decide how all that stuff works, and how many of those ideas are you bringing to just how you show up when you're doing your thing, you know? That was blew the top off of, you know, are you willing to be different? Are you willing to be yourself? Because ultimately, I know that I'm different. So if I'm not being me, you know, I'm not being the difference that I can be in the world.
Yep. So with that, like, how insane does it make us trying to be sane? Like, for me, I know that, you know, some of my physical ailments, let's say, you know, like I'll get a headache after I go to an event because I'm so I've been so trying to fit in and say the right things and do the right things. And what I've learned in using these tools is how it's not me. It's not me that's trying to fit in. I'm just really aware of how many other people in the room are trying to make sure that they fit in, and how many other people are trying to be, are so, trying to hide parts of them because they They aren't really wanting the world to know. And this really happens a lot in, I call the woo-woo space. So woo-woo is any amount of, like, even if it's Christian and God, or, if it's oils and, zodiac signs or whatever it might be, right? But if you believe in any of those things that sort of society doesn't, like, we're not supposed to talk about politics and religion at dinner, right? Anywhere that sort of happens and you don't bring yourself into that, that's really where we add some insanity to our lives. And it really keeps us, it takes a lot of effort to not be us in those situations. So this conversation, whether, mainly we're, business coaches, marketing and sales coaches. So we're asking you, how does this impact, your business? But I'm going to go as far as saying that we can learn a lot of lessons, and we do with our private clients, where they're bringing situations to us about what's happening in their personal life. And once they clear the energy and the gunk around where they're having this challenge in their personal life, it changes how their clients show up. It changes how they show up in their business. So right here, right now, for the next, hour we're together, I'd like you to give yourself full permission to play with the possibilities that whatever amount of you that's crazy, that's insane, that's, that's just totally different, right? I'd like you to just bring that energy to this conversation and start to play with the possibilities of, what would your life be like? What would your business be like? What would your life be like if you were all of you? And start to take a look at what places where you're not really allowing yourself to be all of you, and be vulnerable enough to play with us in letting that go, and then seeing what shifts out of that, right? So anywhere you want to be liked, that is definitely one of those areas where you're not willing to be different, because you believe that being different would have you be judged, and having you be judged would mean that people don't like you. Have you ever worried about being too much, too loud? That was one that Ron mentioned. And I know for myself, I don't know that I was ever told I was too loud. I've always been like too sparkly, or too driven was kind of the words that I got. But I noticed that in my parenting, I often talk about the kids being too loud, or I will tell them they're too loud. And it's fun to, get to say that and notice that, and then be able to have a conversation with them later about my awareness of, hey, you know what? I was sort of overwhelmed at what was happening right now. And so that's why I told you you were too loud. So, my request would be, hey, can we, use our inside voices in this situation, right? I'm able to reframe what happens and not continue that trauma cycle that happens. So, the reason a lot of us feel like we're wrong is because that energetic abuse happened to us as children, and we weren't able to recognize, hey, that's just my mom shit, just trying to tell me, that she's got some issue with what's going on. We always took that in as that was something that was wrong with us. So you get full permission here that there is nothing wrong with you, nothing at all. You cannot, hey, if you want to pay us a lot of money to spend some time with us to prove that there's nothing wrong with you, then we can totally do that, right? But as my gift to you today, like, there's nothing wrong with you at all, any of you, no matter who's on the call. So again, this handout's for you in the chat and in the Facebook Live if you desire to grab it there. We're going to move on to one of the first tools here. And again, this book is based on principles within the work of Access Consciousness. If you want to read more about Access Consciousness, you can go to accessconsciousness.com.
And you can also go to expandyourimpact.com/access, where Mandy has conveniently put a solid page worth of information and videos so you can get a quick view.
Totally. And one of the things that I might just go ahead and slip out here is the Access Clearing Statement, which you can find out more about in theclearingstatement.com, is this idea that the first language that we speak is energy, no matter what country we were born into, or what dimension of reality we're experiencing. And so from that, when we say things like, I am a mom, it brings up energy with it. And whether that energy, and it brings up judgment with it, because the I am a mom or I am a bonus mom brings in, you know, a certain amount of judgment about you being the right mom or the wrong mom, a good mom or a bad mom. And so the clearing statement is meant to take away, just sort of totally level all of the energetic contributions that create what energy you have now, and go back to the foundation of when the word mom was just mom without a point of view, what was that, right? And it gives you choice to be able to choose something beyond that. So the clearing statement is right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, shorts, boys, and beyond. So I'm going to use that today. Ron might use that. But that is meant to clear the energy of whatever statement that comes up. And if you guys open yourselves up and the mic, you guys will say something and I might stop you and invite you into clearing that so that it becomes less heavy for you. And speaking of light and heavy, that's the first tool that I would like for you guys to play with. So this is one that we're going to let Ron talk about his experience with it in just a second, because what's true for you is light and what's heavy for you is a lie. All right. So sometimes it's difficult for people who are thinkers to know what's light or heavy for them. And so this is a game, if you're not immediately aware of what's light and heavy for you, this is a game I want you to play over the weekend or, you know, for yourself, so that you can be able to just get a sense of, is this light or is this heavy? And you can practice it when you say stuff, or you can practice it when other people say stuff as well. You can be like, oh, is that a lie or is that the truth? Ron, what's been your experience with light and heavy?
For me, I initially thought of light and heavy as sort of literally like light and heavy. And what I know about it now is it's sort of light is sort of expansive and heavy is sort of contractive.
That's a good way to look at it. Yep.
Right. And what you're constantly sort of doing is you're introduced to this new terminology and sort of a new way of operating, a new operating system, is you're used to putting your old definitions and your old like ways of looking at it as a means to understand what it is that we're talking about. And I say that because I'm much more familiar with the feeling of energy. Like you were just saying, it's one of your original languages. And so many people, you hear other masters, they use language and wording and explanations that I didn't really get. I didn't really understand. And I'm much more comfortable with it now just because I've been willing to practice a little bit. And honestly, I never knew what it was like to be calm. And not knowing what it was like to be calm, now you have that whole contrast. You were always sort of, you know, in an agitated sort of state. And so now that I know what it's like to be calm, when I'm moving out of calm, I'm much more conscious of that tension rising. And I can immediately understand, okay, what am I buying or selling? What am I reacting to? What's going on? So I have lots of techniques, like I'll just take a long breath and just give my chance to have a little space, and then understand, okay, where are my thoughts going? What am I focused on? You know, what's happening? Before I might have, you know, reacted, and I'm much more in a calmer, responsive sort of state. I know some people have gifts with light and heavy with decisions, and they have light and heavy with maybe foods, and those are some capacities I'm still building, but I'm willing to sort of work with the first thing that comes to my mind and know that that's my knowing, and I can move towards that without having to know all the next steps of how that's going to work. Mm-hmm. And that's a version of light and heavy for me. I also have the page where I wrote out my identities, which is pretty cool. I'd forgotten some that we talked about.
And so speaking of that, when you're looking at that list of identities, and you go through them and you read back through them. So again, mother, daughter, sister, coach, whatever it might be, Facebook friend, LinkedIn connector, right? And those are ones you probably don't think of. Like when we're nervous about, we do a lot of social media teaching. And what we find with the people that we attract is we do a lot of teaching you what buttons to push, but what sabotages a lot of people from the button pushing is they might know what buttons to push, but they don't want to, present themselves out there in the world. They're afraid of that being judged. They're afraid of what people might say. And so when you look at those identities and you look at them from a point of view of, when you say I'm a bonus mom, does that make you feel light or heavy? And for me, there's a distinct difference between I'm a bonus mom, that to me feels really light, and when I say that I'm a stepmom, like there's a lot of crunchy granola for me in being a stepmom.
And granola is bad in this case, right?
Yeah, it's just kind of right. And what I've had to play with, because as soon as the kids originally were totally into the idea of a bonus mom, because they had no other version of reality, right? And they went to their bio mom, and their bio mom's like, well, she's just your stepmother. And so then they started to get an idea that stepmother meant something, and they took the energy of what that meant and, took that on. And then they get to school, and they both had some teachers who had points of view about stepmoms. And so, they've come back, and I've noticed that they're hesitant when they introduce me to somebody else, because they sort of want to please me to call me bonus mom, right? But then when they say bonus mom, they have to explain it to their friends, and their friends don't kind of get that. And some of their friends that, at the under 5 age don't even understand what a stepmom is. And, so they get this whole opportunity to be like, you get 2 moms? How cool is that? And you realize that, when the kids are that innocent, they have no point of view about what that is. And it's not until like later that the kids have some other point of view that ends up being like a bad thing, right? So when you look back through that list and you think of yourself as light or heavy, just notice that. And when you get to saying something like, I'm a stepmom, and it feels heavy, I'd like to introduce you to the tool of interesting point of view. And that one, we'll type that in the chat here. It's we shorten it up to IPOV, and it's interesting, INTEREST, interesting point of view. And so I might say interesting point of view. I have that point of view. Interesting point of view. I have that point of view. And you say that statement until you sort of like giggle or laugh at the fact that stepmom feels heavy, or whatever it is that your label you're looking at. And so then I usually clear whatever energy that just got brought up, right? So for everywhere that I'm aware that people have shit about stepmoms, I'm going to destroy and uncreate that. I'm going to return all of those thoughts to sender with consciousness attached. Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. And they say in Access that when you clear a point of view for yourself, you clear it for at least 350,000 other people, right? So how cool is that? And how amazing you guys are for being on a call like this and looking at other possibilities. And then when I have more space to go out in the world, not holding on those points of view that other people have about stepmoms, it allows me to go back out and be sometimes a stepmom, because that's what I can manipulate in this reality. I mean, that's what, people call me in this reality. And I don't have to have the point of view about it. I don't have to have a fight instinct about it. So everywhere, when you take that list that you feel heavy about some label or some place in your reality where you've tried to fit in, go ahead and use on top of that the tool, interesting point of view. I have that point of view, until you can get some lightness around that relationship or that area. And I want to open the lineup right now for questions. If you have questions about those 2 tools that we've just shared or how they might apply to you.
So while you're looking at it, I have literally like the work thing that I did. So I have my agenda listed as a human, a dad, a parent, a son, an American, a sports fan, a husband, a businessman, a part of my family, which is Pearl, right? A friend, a smart person, right? I have an idea about having a body, and I have an idea about having a mind, and I have an idea about what it means to be polite, and that I am polite. And then I know that I'm a fixer, so that I get people with problems, because I used to see people with problems as something that made me important, because I could help them, I could fix them. I therefore had like more of a reason to be, because I could contribute to them. But I wasn't contributing to them because I was trying to be of service to them. I was trying to justify my existence, right? So when you go through these patterns, you start to understand, why is this stuff important? So like as a sports fan, right, you get all yourself all like excited about the game, and then if it doesn't go your way, you're like, oh, they lost, right? So that's where you're buying that the passion displayed on the field and the outcome of that football game is more important than like you being happy. And I was like, that's crazy, right?
So those of you who are on the line, if you can unmute yourself, just ask whatever question you've got about the tool. So we've got a question, and you're totally, I think it's, I'm going to say your name wrong, and then you're going to correct me. Indora. Did I say it right?
Indra.
Indra. Okay, perfect.
Hi, Indra.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Yeah, I'm a very spiritual person. Kind of resonate with some of the stuff you said. Yeah, and I'm just putting myself out there as a coach, but I used to be in the corporate world, and so I feel like I feel like I would be of value, like bringing that spiritual space to the corporate world. And so, but it's like, how much of it do I mean, I want to be a spiritual coach, but then, I mean, that's what I am anyway. I mean, I can't take that away because it's just so much part of my life. So I can't, you know, that's just how I live, and that's what I will be teaching. But the question is like, how much of it is like putting yourself forward as like a spiritual coach, and people are just, you know, people in corporate might not be ready for that. I mean, I know there's a lot of them that are, but it's like, do I want to kind of shove it in their face, or do I want to like come from a place of, you know, just myself?
Can I give you a couple of tools that will help you with that?
Sure.
So I'm going to have you just check in. It's going to feel like work to begin with, but you're going to be super good at it, so it's going to be really easy pretty quickly. And that's the idea that you can't do it wrong. And what you want to be using is your awareness and your knowing of what will contribute more right now versus that you could do it right or wrong. So in this 10 seconds, I'm going to just say, like, if you were going to go make a Facebook update right now and you wanted to lead with some real woo-woo topic, I would ask the Facebook post, right? And, you know, the collective energy that is truth. If I post this woo-woo point of view right now, will it create the future I desire? And if you get a light on it, go post it. If you get a heavy on it, then it's another question of, okay, is there another way that I could say this so that it will contribute to the future I desire? Or is it not the right time for me to post it? And then you'll start to get a better understanding of what you're tapping into. Is there's a need for all of it. There's a need for a very watered down conversation and meeting people where they're at, some people, and then there's a need for, like, there's somebody right now who might really need the deep spiritual conversation that you want to have, that you're getting the hit to have. And the only separation that happens is when you make yourself wrong, or you have a judgment about, well, I posted this so I should get a client, or I posted this and somebody shouldn't have said something shitty to me. Does that kind of change how you would look at it?
Yeah, I guess I mean, I know what you mean about feeling into like the future of what it's going to impact, because I do that all the time with stuff. But I guess I'm just, you know, trying to be too perfect, and it's
You
like,
wouldn't do that, would you?
Yeah.
You would try to be perfect to yourself.
So this is good because it's all part of my journey, like what I'm doing now. And ironically, I'm also helping people kind of, that's part of what I was, you know, kind of putting myself out there as like being your authentic self, but it's like the thing that I'm struggling with the most myself, which I know is part of it, which I know is normal.
Totally. So talk about it. Be authentic about it.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'd like to make one distinction for putting what you're doing out into the corporate world, because you're trying to assess, like, are they ready? And so that question's really, am I ready? Right. But without poking you about it, I want you to think of corporate as two different aspects. One is, I want to approach like people that are in corporations, in leadership, and I want to be able to show them on a one-to-one sort of basis what possibilities exist for them, and then how that might impact, you know, them at their job, or them with their productivity, or them how they lead, versus I would like for an individual to hire me to bring this to a team, or to install this corporately, because now you're talking about talking to an individual versus talking to a corporation. And the reason that I say that is, in your messaging, in corporations, you're wanting to attach what you provide in your particular voodoo as a solution to something that they already recognize as a huge problem. If you're not able to, you know, organizations over 100 people, if you're not able to know what is a big problem for them, they're going to be deaf to what you have to say.
yeah.
Now, if you find an individual at a C-suite level, then if you're having a conversation with them, you can pretty much understand where they're individually at. And I make that distinction because Mandy and I do a lot of work in the corporate community, and we research what problems are important, and then we attach the shit that we do to what they think is important. So, for instance, this is National Suicide Awareness Month, right? And I don't have a particularly strong point of view about suicide, right? But because it's very loud in the media, it's very loud in the community, I can attach it to, you know, suicide, depression, anxiety, and corporate productivity. We can provide solutions to this major problem for your company, as opposed to, hey, I've got this widget that does this cool stuff. I need to really tie it to something they've already predefined as a problem. So whatever it is you're doing, if you're wanting it to be in corporate, you're really wanting to know what problem they've already decided is important and work towards fixing that.
That's great. Yeah, because I was doing like a two-prong. I just started this, but my plan was to do like a two-pronged approach, like, because I do come from corporate, well, Wall Street and different stuff. But anyway, like two-pronged approach, like talk to HR directors and try to get them to do coaching. But you're right, it is kind of an agenda of like, yeah, I want them to buy from me instead of like looking at what do they need first. And it's, yeah, so that's good.
Only for corporations as a group, as individuals, right? They're going to be just like any other friend sitting next to you. Yeah. You're going to be able to read them, you know, and direct them through conversation to understand what their real currency is. And then everything I said about having to find what their problem is and attaching it, that can go right out the window.
No, I get it. I get what you're saying. And that's very helpful because, the whole talking to the HR people would really help with that. So, I mean, my biggest thing is just, I literally feel terrified, like putting myself uniquely out there. Like, it is like the most, I don't know why, but it is. I mean, I know it's like past life stuff, being burned at the stake and all that kind of stuff, but but still, it's like, I can't keep feeling like this. It's just, I can't, and it's it's all good.
Can you feel the heat?
It's all good.
What did you say, Ron?
I said, can you feel the heat?
So, would you like to facilitate it around this conversation a little bit more?
Say again?
Would you like to facilitate it around what you just said, but some more?
Would I like what?
More facilitation around this.
Oh, yeah.
Energy.
Oh, yeah.
Because you talked about you being terrified.
Yes.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you, who does that terrified belong to? And I'm going to interrupt you before you think about it too much. Truth, is it yours?
I don't know.
So if I told you that 99% of your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs were not yours, then how would you answer?
No.
Yeah. So if you're an infinite being, then the only way that we get feelings is when we jump into a body. An infinite being doesn't have feelings. They have awarenesses, they have knowing, and they have perceiving. Can you buy into that?
Yeah, no, I get all that. And it's part of my ego, and I have 900 billion little, stuff that I need to feel and all. I know all that. Yeah, that's great. That's a good reminder that no, it's not me. And like, yeah, I'm giving too much credence to that. Like I'm identifying with it too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when that happens, and this is exactly what this pragmatic psychology book is about, and you mentioned the word ego. So when we go to ego, it's just the way we've been taught, and it's these people, that's the way that they've have sort of figured out how to deal with this. But the ego is just something that the mind created to figure itself out. And if you continue, and so how much thinking have you done to try to figure things out that have only led you back to having to think about it more and trying to figure it out?
Yeah.
Like,
no,
that's
I know.
insanity, right?
That's the whole life story is like
Right. So can we give up, every one of you, because I know the rest of the girls online, can we give up thinking and get to a place? Consciousness is about accepting everything, or judging nothing and receiving everything. If we're thinking about it, we're immediately adding judgment and conclusion to it.
Yeah.
So we've got to I use tools like this because I'm smart, to stop thinking and to start operating from infinite knowing, perceiving, and being.
Great.
So you kind of lead us to name 3 people in history who were seen as crazy during their lifetime that turned out to be geniuses. Do you have anybody like that you admire or you sort of look at?
Oh yeah, I mean, like, yeah.
Anybody else
Tesla.
come to mind? Tesla's a great example.
Because he was so disrespected, and he was just such a great being as well, like on a spiritual level as well.
Right? Einstein was told that he wasn't going to be smart enough to go to school, and
yeah. Yeah. It's like, all that, but it's like, but okay, I get it. It's just, I just have to just honor the feeling of it and just, just do it anyway, really, because that's my uniqueness. And I mean, it'd be silly to like just sell out. I mean, my whole life story is selling out to this, and I've been trying to fit in every single place I go.
So the other piece of this is it's choice.
Yeah.
And not making yourself wrong for all the choices you've made before, and not saying, oh, it all led me to this. Okay, maybe. But right now, if I just choose, and that's why I gave you the idea of the tool of 10 seconds. If every 10 seconds you get to make another choice,
okay,
then like, oh, wow, how much fun can we have with choosing now and now and now, right? We get so many more of those opportunities.
Yeah, that's great. This so fits in with what I've been, my journey lately. So this is great.
Yeah.
Love it. You guys are awesome.
Thank you. Angela, Leah, you have anything to weigh in on these 2 tools or what we've just talked about so far?
No, but I would love it if you would post your affiliate link again, because I am at the bottom of the document and somehow I'm not getting the click through to work. So.
Oh yeah, same thing. I couldn't, it didn't click to anything. The access consciousness.
The access consciousness one or the
all three. All 3.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So let me go to the Amazon link.
So we'd love those.
Yes, thank you for the 20 cents here. Let's see here. Oh, I gotta click the book here. Pragmatic Psychology. Okay, what other questions do you have while I get that for you in the chat?
one of the things that I like about this book is that it's pragmatic psychology, right? And this is coming from somebody who's a clinician level, intellect, and she's trying to draw these concepts down into everyday language and then applying these access tools. So for some of you that are like sort of super sciencey in your background and you like to see sort of the iterative connect the dots way that happens, I find it to be immensely valuable. I fell in love with Louise Hay when I first saw some of the connections that she was able to make.
Yeah.
Right. And so conceptually, once I understood what she was talking about, I no longer had to know why, the heel bone's connected to the knee bone, and that means that I'm going crazy for this reason. Right. I just looked it up as sort of a directory. But other people who don't apply things conceptually and then just move on as a principle, they want to know like how these little things connect. And this book walks through this with somebody who's, sort of in love with all of it. Right? She talks about her journey. She, by my guess, is like an Eastern European upbringing. So there's a lot of right, wrong, good, bad in her world, and I think that led her into a psychology sort of exploration. And she never really felt like she fit in until she realized that she wasn't supposed to, with the introduction of some of this Axis work. And then she was literally put together like sort of her worlds into this coherent book as her gift to try and say, this is my journey. Right. So I feel like it's a great read, for that reason, because it's not about tragedy or money or gaining anything. It's more just about being you. Mm-hmm. Right.
And
I like it a lot.
For me, it's helped me play with, and maybe you guys see this as, I don't know how all of you come into to our brand, right? But for me, as I go and I be more me in the world, and as I've allowed myself, I had coaches who told me, you can only really have one marketing message, or you can only really focus on one niche. And I was like, yeah, and I didn't have the words at the time, but I'm like, I'm aware of all these people I can help, and I'm aware of all of these problems that I can solve. And then I'm aware of all these possibilities I want to play with. And it's only when I've just allowed myself to two things. One is start to recognize that every thought I have or every idea I have doesn't necessarily mean that I have to act on it. But if I view it as that I'm in communion with it and I can talk to that idea or that thought or that marketing message or sales funnel thing, if I talk to each one of them as, like, will you create the future I want right now? Then I can feel less judgment about and zero overwhelm, because it's like, okay, so I have this idea, I'm going to write it down in my little book, but I'm not going to do anything about it now. And I'm going to wait until the universe is really noisy that sort of direction or that sort of thing wants to happen. And the more I've followed that energy, it's allowed me to create the things that I think that I want based on what, other gurus have told me or other ways that people do their business. But really allowed me to have the energy of what it is that those desires that I have are, not the conclusions of what it is that I've said out there that I want. So one of the other, and that's an important sort of distinction of, where are you buying into the conclusions of whatever role you're playing or whatever business is supposed to be, instead of you being you and going and playing with what you're aware of and just seeing what happens. And then not being in conclusion of, well, I did this and it should have resulted in that. Just being continually in question with, well, what else is possible? What else is possible? Right? That's another tool. It's not on your sheet, but the what else is possible is a tool. If you stay in constant question of what else is possible, then things that are beyond your expectations will start to show up.
Yeah, that's great. Love that. Nice.
Leah,
Awesome.
Something else to add?
Yeah. So here's what I was thinking about. What I was thinking about was kind of this number one, I just kind of in a little bit of funky space right now, whatever, so I'm not as like, I know. I mean,
I'm in my head. I'm in my head.
It's not about that. It's just a day.
Yep.
So I guess I just want to say that because I'm not in the same kind of emotional space as I was yesterday about some of this stuff.
Okay.
So, but I do want to talk about kind of the overall feeling that you were talking about yesterday. Can
you tap back into the energy of that so I can have more of the energy of it?
Yeah, I'm trying to get there.
You're doing great. What particular call were we on that you were saying that so I can help you get the energy?
I think it was the training call at 2. The training call at 2 tied in kind of what I was thinking about at the end of that call was that this call would be great because I want to be able to step into that more, just embracing who I am, embracing what I'm about, embracing what matters most to me, and not feeling so held back by whatever it is I think people think of me or what people say. So that's what I was wanting here, and so I don't even know how to explain, like, yeah.
So can you bring up one instance that's maybe triggered you today or this week that where you don't feel like you can be you?
No, there's nothing I really want to talk about right now about that.
Okay. Can you think of a past scenario that I need an energy I can address to work with it?
Like the things I value about me, other people do or don't get, other people do or don't value, other people do or don't whatever. Right. Like I'm deep and things matter to me and whatever. And
let's go with
and the people who are drawn to me want that.
Mm-hmm. So let's look at the I'm deep and things matter. Can we play with the energy of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I want you to say 3 times, I'm deep and things matter to me.
I'm deep and things matter to me. I'm deep and things matter to me. I'm deep and things matter to me.
And everything that is, can you just get an energetic sense of the significance you have on that?
I value that. And I feel like I have to hide that because people give me shit for it.
Mm.
And I can't, I'm, no thanks. Like people can have their opinions, but why would I want to be around that?
Yeah. So, where are
like, you? I don't think it's a bad thing about me, you know?
Totally. No, it's a rightness about you. So in those situations, are you willing to be judged for being deep and you know, you want it to mean something? Are you willing to be judged for that?
I go back and forth apparently.
So now,
I mean, conceptually, it's like I know that I have to be okay with that at some point, but no, if I'm judged, I just shut down.
Yeah. So I would play with Leah like you're talking to, you know, the part of you that's nice and fun, and you can kind of separate it from you being you. Is there something significant about the who that's judging you that does more of the triggering? right? Like, is it
Yeah.
okay? Because if you unravel like, oh, it's my spouse, and when my spouse says this, it really bothers me more.
Yeah, if it's, for the most part, if it's general strangers, it doesn't bother me as much.
Yep.
If it's people who I don't tend to keep around very many friends who don't get me.
Mm-hmm.
If it's people whose help I need for some reason, and if I'm not understood, then I can't get the help I need.
Okay.
If it's my spouse, like he has an acceptance of that part of me, but he doesn't get it. And it's only like after 15 years of marriage, he realized, he told me one day, you know, you're really deep and I really like that about you. And I was like, oh my God, how did I never realize that he valued this about me? And I said, how long have you felt that way? And he said, about 3 weeks. So we were together 18 years before he saw the value in that. It's because he was around somebody who's very not deep, and he was like, fucking A, I wouldn't want to be married to her. So yeah, that's what I got for you. Does that answer the question or give you context enough?
Yeah, so each one of those, again, like we were talking with before, the other example is, I wonder what freedom it might give you to play in 10-second increments. And to play in the, you know, when to allow it to, when you hear somebody say something and you get that energy of they're not getting me, they're not getting how deep I am, to run interesting point of view, to run, okay, so now what am I aware of that I can make a choice about? Because you mentioned that sometimes you separate from the people because of that, and that can be a rightness. It could be like, you know what, this, but I'd like you to reframe it in a way that you're not a victim in the situation, that you're in control. Because this is where I use, you know, my own sort of light and heavy of, I don't talk to my mother about these conversations.
Right.
And I sure can't go and show up at my mom's house and be like, you know, you should call and talk that, or, you know.
Right.
I mean, Michelle, who's on the call, you know, her husband said this week, don't access me. You know,
yeah, I love that little line.
right?
Mom, just
like how I wouldn't even tell my husband about access, so I thought that was cute that at least he knew. But I thought it was a funny phrase, Michelle, just so you know.
So those are all like levels of like, oh, cool, I have a new awareness now that it's not that you can't be you in those situations, but you're choosing to, in order to not separate, in order to stay connected, you're willing to drop your barriers about your points of view, about how somebody should react to you, in order to be able to stay in communion with them. And it's your choice. Like, you totally can say, you know what, not going to hang out with you anymore. Or I'm only going to hang out and here are my barriers, or here are my boundaries with this, right? Or knowing that you're just going to have to talk everything they say while you're doing with them. And I know over time, for me, using these tools has shifted my resistance to all of those people I used to have resistance in. And now I can go and be around them with much more ease because I don't carry on as much of that judgment, conclusion, significance that I did before. If somebody thinks that mine would maybe be funny or smart, you know, if somebody's around me and doesn't think I'm funny, I don't have to look to connect with them in that way. I can look to have another sort of connection point with them, right?
Yeah, okay. I will, I'm not tracking everything right, but I'm listening to what you're saying and I'm letting it, I'll re-listen.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
If you could have anything out of this, what would you want? What would you like to create?
You got it. What would it be?
I don't,
Would there be more allowance of you?
I don't know. I don't know what I want. I mean, I have some thoughts. I don't know what I want to say. And there's something I need to be more accepting of me about. And I'm not even sure how to put, I got other stuff interfering. So I can't even put words to that stuff right now.
Cool. Okay. So I don't need to know even the words of it. And can we, using these tools, can you just acknowledge the energy that makes all that crumbly crap be there? And are you willing to destroy it and create it right now?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
wrong, good, bad, all nine, talk, short, boys and beyonds. You don't have to understand it. You can just be like, I'm tired of, so.
I do understand it. I just don't know if I want to talk about it right in this moment.
Oh, totally, totally. So part of it is, this other piece of this is, we actually, and I love this book for the fact that it's talking about, we don't really want to change the world, because change means you're just making it, like you change clothes. It doesn't mean you're 10 pounds lighter, even if you wear the spankety spank pants, right? We're not trying to change the world, which is where a lot of us have gotten jammed up in. I want to be the change. And we keep trying to look at something that's yucky and make it prettier, right? But we want to dissipate the energy, which is what the clearing statement does, and what is having less judgment on something does. It allows us to dissipate the energy around what things are right now and allow us to create something different. So even though you're not being specific about whatever situation that's happening, if you can just go, I don't know, everything that this is, pod, poc, right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, pod, short, boys, beyonds, and just keep repeating that to yourself right now until you can find some more space around some possibility that feels lighter and some direction to go as your next step.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah. I can do that.
Cool. Thank you for showing up and being here, no matter whatever's going on in life today.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You are such a contribution to this call being here. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to wrap up here in just a little bit. Miss Angela looks like she might want to unmute herself. You are unmuted, Angela. You look like you're unmuted.
Gave me the.
There you are. Can you talk a little louder?
Oh, okay. Now can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I just wanted to say a shout out of thank you to Leah because you gave me the confidence to speak up. So what I would like to figure out how to use these tools with is the relationship that I'm in, and I feel so much heaviness around this man, and when he calls or texts or whatever, I'm just kind of like, oh, like there's just this angst. And so I would like to be able to look at this from, okay, so what is this, interesting point of view, and help me to use these tools to figure out where or what or, whatever this is.
So, truth, Angela,
Mm-hmm.
you have some awarenesses about this man that you're not acknowledging.
Yeah.
I don't need you to tell me them. I don't need the dirty laundry aired, right?
Right.
So I'm going to send you a video that we got as part of this training on how to teach you guys this material. And in the video, the woman talks about that she had a client come to her with anxiety, and the client's, like, oh, I should go on drugs, or, I just have all this anxiety. And she asked him to be in question of whether or not the anxiety was his awareness about the situation. And the later that week, as he's in this question all week long, anxiety is this awareness. She is inviting him to talk to the anxiety like it's a friend he got. Like he picked up this friend, and this friend walks around with him all the time. And he said that he was supposed to be driving to, a hotel in the city to do some business. And he just thought, oh, I really need to go home real quick. Let me go home real quick. And he calls his wife on the way home, and she says she's not at home. And so he's like, okay, no worries. And he gets home and he walks in on his wife having an affair. And immediately he knew that anxiety was all of the places over the last, X amount of months that he'd been denying that he knew something about what was happening. And he could never point his finger on that was what it is. And I am so not telling you your person's cheating. Okay, so not saying that, right? Yeah. But you have some awareness of, I like this man in my life because he contributes X, Y, and Z. But I want more in my life. And your invitation, your awareness might be, this one can't have that, can't provide that, doesn't want to provide it. Or your invitation is, how do I ask for more of what I really want? It could be something really fabulous that you're aware of that he can, be with you with, and you're just not asking for it. That help?
Yes, very much so. Thank you.
All right. So I'll send that video for you. And so all the awarenesses that you've got, though, of you're going to see the phone, he's doing the caller ID. And so you're looking at, ooh, I feel a heavy feeling, like interesting point of view. I have this point of view. What else is possible? Or what am I aware of when the phone rings or when I see the phone number that I'm not acknowledging? And what's right about that?
Okay, that helps a lot. That I can work with that.
Because I'm pretty much sure that you go into a place of, oh my God, he's calling. I should be happy he's calling me. I shouldn't be upset he's calling. Like, we go into crazy. Right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So if you could just go, oh, interesting point of view. I'm going crazy about him calling. Cool, interesting point of view. And start to have, in this 10 seconds, no point of view about him calling.
Okay.
The funnest part of this is you can have all of this go on and not ever let him know. But he will start to show up differently because he's also reading into your energy, right? And you may be reading up on his energy. There may be something going on in his work and you're picking up on it and you don't know and he never tells you, right? And you can be like, oh, I don't have to handle that anymore for him.
Yeah, okay. Oh, good. Yeah.
Good?
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Cool. I love it when we go to focus on work stuff and it all comes up like life. And that's normal. So take what happens here in your life, and this is why we have Expand Your Impact, right? We're a community that knows that if you do want to go get paid to be you, you've got to let all that crazy hang out. You've got to, talk about all the things that you're into and up to, because your group of people are just as crazy as you are, and like the fact that, just like Leah said earlier, my like how deep I am, right? You guys, if you ever come back for other calls, you like that we go from what buttons to push on Facebook today, and 2 seconds later, we're clearing, decades worth of shit from your life. Like, that's how I operate in my life, the more integrated I allow myself to be. And that's how you want to show up. And you're not ever going to show up the way I show up. but you would show up in the way that works for you, right? Your own version of crazy, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's, we got kids to go pick up here. Leah, I just posted the Amazon link. You are so right that I did not, like, type it right the first time. So there it is. Go grab that book. Let me know how you like it. And be on the lookout for some other calls. We're going to do some other versions of this call next month and in November. And then if you like this kind of conversation, first of all, I'm going to invite you to check out the link I shared about the classes Ron and I teach. So we teach Access Bars, which is a 8-hour class that you take. Usually it's one day. And Access Bars is a physical modality that basically deletes the hard drive of your brain and all of your thinking. And it's a practice that hopefully once you get your bars run once, you're going to want to get them run regularly, because you got a lot of, just like you should be rebooting your computer every day, you know, you'll find that it really helps you find more possibilities in life and live crazy happy when you get your bars run regularly. So I'm happy to talk to you more about that. And then whenever you've done bars, you can move into a class called Foundation. And Ron and I have I have a foundation class coming up at the beautiful Boca Resort in October. And it's a 4-day intensive where we're really just giving you the foundational tools, very much like what we did here. But because you're at a beautiful resort and we're in a small, intimate environment, we can really dig into very intimately whatever it is you guys want to play with: money, sex, religion, politics, you know, your Facebook fan page, whatever it might be, we get to dive into that. So the information for that is there. And then there's always the opportunity, if you like a mix of playing in this consciousness world and playing with marketing and sales, to join us for Expand Your Impact. And I'm happy to give you details about the options that you've got there as well. But I will email out to you all of the links that we shared today in an email after this class. And anything else that you guys have questions on before we head off? Any last words you want to add, Mr. Ron?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
We'll be more of you and fuck up the world. Have fun. Bye.
Thanks, guys.